Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 3. I hope that this Monday finds you well. It's supposed to be a beautiful week, a little bit too warm for still being in winter, but nevertheless, hopefully you'll be able to get outside and catch a few rays while it's still nice out. Let's go ahead and take a look at this week. I'm going to just kind of walk you through the module from this page so that you can kind of see everything that's here. It might not take quite as long as it did last week. Keep in mind that your overview and objectives page, this gives you the dates that everything is due, what point value everything has. So if you just kind of want a quick snapshot of what's going on this week, make sure you're looking at the overview and objectives page. I post the essay assignment every week that we're in the essay, so there's nothing different here. It's the same page as last week. It's more of just kind of as a way to remind you that this is what we are working towards in the coming weeks. The essay structure overview page, actually, I think I will go ahead and click into this page. As I have mentioned before, this is an OER class that you don't have to pay for any books, you don't pay for anything as other than your tuition, right? There's no handbooks or anything that you need to buy. And so on my end, what that means is that I will import pages from online textbooks to cover various material that I want you to make sure you understand. Some of those pages are appearing in this week, and they look a little bit different in terms of how you navigate them. The first one here is this essay structure overview, and I really would love it if everybody would just read this page, largely because I think that we get so married to that formulaic essay, right? That 3-point thesis where we have 3 clear points, and each point is kind of corresponds to a body paragraph. You have an intro and a conclusion. You've got your 5 paragraphs, and you're done. And you may have had an English 100 class that tried to move you out of that formula. You may have had an English 100 class that kept you in that formula. Either way, part of what we're doing here is now building off of it and moving you away from it. And that's not to say that you shouldn't have learned it in the first place, right? I don't want you to feel like, oh, well, then why in the world did I even learn it if I have to unlearn it? You know, you have to kind of learn about the structure of an essay, and that formula helps you do that, right? But now that you're going to be writing about more complicated, complex topics, that formula no longer will serve you, right? It especially won't serve you in longer essays. And for those of you who are transferring, and most students who are in English 221 are here because you want to transfer, the writing that you're going to be doing once you transfer is going to be that more complicated, complex writing. And you're not going to be able to rely on the formula. And so beginning with this very first essay, we're going to move beyond that formula. All of that kind of coming back into this page here. These pages will talk a little bit more specifically about how to move out of that formulaic structure, right? And how to write more organically. And next week, we'll talk more about how to write that more organic thesis, right? Because everyone's always worried about the thesis, right? But the thesis actually isn't what you should be worried about. You need to worry about your thinking and the content and what it is you think you want to say. The thesis will come along. You should not ever start a rough draft with your thesis. In the same way that you shouldn't start a rough draft with your introduction paragraph. Because how are you going to write, or how are you going to know what to introduce before you even know what you're going to write about, right? It's kind of, right? But we get these ideas in our head. I got to write the thesis, I got to write the intro, and then we get stuck, right? And of course we're stuck because we haven't done the thinking yet. We've got to do the thinking. All right, anyway, all that's to say, I want you to kind of read through these pages to kind of just remind yourself about how to get out of that formula. They're not long. You can take, there's like a little practice at the end if you want to take it. You don't have to, it's not required. But here's what that looks like, right? So you can see, here's my note to you in this yellow box. And then you can see here is the web page that I have imported into our class. So you'll see this is the web page, and this blue next, this keeps you in the web page, okay? So to get to the next page, you're going to click on the blue next. And this is the next page in the textbook. So you're going to do that 4 times. And then once you've done that, you're going to go all the way to the bottom. And here's the canvas next, right? So you're going to click within the textbook to read the pages that I've told you to read. And then you're going to click next to stay back in Canvas, okay? So it's just a little bit of a funky navigation. The pre-writing techniques are really similar in that regard. Again, these are just a review, like a review of pre-writing. And I know a lot of folks are like, pre-writing, I can't tell you how important it is to pre-write. If you're sitting at a computer and you've got the white screen in front of you and the blanky cursor and you're like, I'm just going to hope that my essay like magically comes to me, right? It does not work that way. You've got to do the thinking in advance. You've got to do some of that pre-writing. And that's actually what all the discussion boards are, essentially. The discussion boards are pre-writing to kind of get you thinking about these topics. Okay, so let me go back to the big overview. Now that I've kind of talked a little bit about how to navigate those textbook pages. Okay, so the essay work this week, there's the essay itself, essay structure overview, the pre-writing techniques. This is the first week that I'm going to have conferences available to you. And the conference schedule has changed just a little bit. There are dates and times here that I have listed, but to schedule a conference, you're actually going to click on this link, schedule a conference. That will take you to my scheduling page, and I've given you instructions step by step for how to click on a conference. All of our conferences are virtual. You can meet with me as many times as you want. I encourage you, it's an assignment to meet with me at least once for every essay. You're required to meet with me if you choose to revise your final draft after I've returned it to you, but we'll talk more about that at that time. But conferences begin this week. If you want to just kind of talk through your ideas, great, schedule a conference. If you know you want to talk next week, great, you can schedule it now if you want. Totally up to you. All right, we have several readings this week. The first, reading 1.3, you've got a discussion board with that. Again, your reply is going to appear on your to-do list. We have another hypothesis. So keep in mind that with the hypothesis, you're writing 5 annotations, right? What are you learning? What's learned, affirmed, challenged, question, right? Those are your 4. You're making 4 separate annotations and tagging them. And then you're going into the search bar and typing in question or challenge to pull up everybody else's tags and then choosing someone to respond to. So you're making a total of 5. And from the looks of it, it looks like y'all are kind of enjoying hypothesis. I actually think it's really fun to do social annotation. Your mentor text this week is about the mighty semicolon. Yes, I am a writing nerd. I love the semicolon. And it's one of those pieces of punctuation that if you know how to do well, it can really kind of spice up your writing. And so again, the mentor text will give you a little Khan Academy video that kind of walks you through, here's how to use a semicolon. And then I've given you a mentor text, which essentially just shows you that skill in the real world. Like, what does this look like in an actual piece of writing? Not just in the video, but where can I actually see what it looks like as a writer? And so that's what the mentor skill is. Your writing territory, of course, is due by Friday, you have a grace period until Sunday. You have lots of extra credit opportunities this week. The first is a piece from James Baldwin. It is a discussion board if you choose to do that. I know it says 0 points, so ignore this because I have to put it as an item on your to-do list. Otherwise, it won't appear for you. So this is the actual discussion board, but just ignore the 0 points. The second is one of my favorite pieces of writing. Many of you have maybe read it in English 100 or a previous English course. It's by Annie Lamott called Shitty First Drafts, because I am a firm believer that you need to write a shitty first draft. Next week I'll have you kind of make that your mantra as we head into Rough Draft Week. And then the last piece is another piece about writing. It's called Who's Your Watcher? And I think that this piece is actually really important too, because it asks you to think about what is it that is maybe getting in your way when you write. We don't think about that very often, or we just say, oh, I don't like to write, or, writing's never been my strong suit, without really identifying how did we get there, right? What is it about writing that we don't like, or or makes us afraid or whatever it is, right? And so this article is really short, it's like a page and a half, but it asks it doesn't ask you those questions, but what she does, the writer, what she kind of shares her experience. And so I think it's just really helpful to think about, what is it that is kind of sitting on your shoulder as you write that might be making you feel certain things about your writing. And again, these are all extra credit, and extra credits are due by Sunday. And then that's it. That's the end of week 3. So, ideally this week you really want to be working on just kind of making sure that you understand the readings. We're heading into the rough draft. And it's, the rough draft, and I'll talk more about the rough draft next week in terms of what's expected. But just so I don't expect that you'll have the whole essay drafted. It's really more about having 2 pages at least, so that way I can kind of see what you're thinking about. If you don't have any idea of what you want to write about yet for essay number 1, then schedule a conference with me this week and let's talk about it. Excuse me, I don't want you to struggle in silence, right? I'm here to help support you, and I am happy to just sit and, have a conversation with you. Let's talk about it. What are your questions? Sometimes what you need, the best thing that you can do is just bounce your ideas off of somebody else, and I'm happy to be that somebody else. So you can do that during student hours, but just remember that during the open student hours, those are for all 130 of my students. If you want guaranteed one-on-one time, you want to schedule a conference, and if the times that I have don't work for you, send me an email and we'll figure it out. The last thing that I just need to mention is that I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, I had a medical emergency with one of my kids, and I had to kind of shift student hours for that week. We've had some kind of lingering changes kind of related to that same issue, and I had to change my student hours. I don't know if these changes will take place for the rest of the semester, but for right now, my open student hours, and I'll post this in the announcements, but right now my open student hours are Thursday and Friday mornings from 9 to 11. I know that's a super specific time, and I do apologize for the inconvenience, but I've opened up a bunch of conference times, so hopefully that will offset. If you really want to meet with me, we can do it during a conference. But again, the student hours, Thursday and Friday morning from 9 to 11, it's open, so you can just kind of pop in and say hello if you want, or we can talk about your essay at that point. We can do that too. So anyway, I hope that you're all well. I hope that you're all staying healthy. And again, hopefully you can get outside and enjoy some of the fresh air today. All right, be well and let me know how I can help you. Have a great week.